Hello and welcome to an AVForums short video overview of the Advanced Paris A10 Apex integrated amplifier. My name is Ed Selley, I'm the hi-fi editor for AVForums. Now, this probably won't come as a massive surprise to most people watching this, but I don't edit these videos. That's done by Phil Hinton of this parish. You can see his videos on the site as well, and that's why they look slicker and better than mine. Phil imparts all sorts of useful information like, try and review products that people have heard of and that people have an interest in. And I sense there'll be some mild trepidation when he starts looking at the feed for this, because Advanced Paris is not really a household brand. They've made quite some steps into becoming one, and they have wider routes to market and all the sort of catchphrases like that. You can buy them in places that you couldn't do even a couple of years ago, and the range has expanded considerably. The reason I'm doing this video is because, mild spoiler alert, though in the written review on this amplifier on the site itself, I have awarded it a best in class badge, and I thought, do you know what? It probably warrants me explaining why. So here we are, and this is what I'm going to try and do. First up, this is £2,450, and it's very closely related to an amplifier called the A10 Classic, for which there is a written review on the site as well. There is no video for that one. In fact, when you look at them, not that much has changed. It's still a Class AB amplifier. It still has 130 watts into 8 ohms and 198 into 4. It's worth noting that those figures are quoted at numbers that are quite substantially higher than the figure that the distortion measurement is quoted at. So if you are going to run it that hard, it's likely that the distortion measurement will be higher than the one quoted on the site. In practice, I haven't exactly found it wanting for power used well within its comfortable operating envelope. The most notable part of the Advanced Paris is something that the company does with quite a few of its amplifiers. You can't really see it on this, and I'm at pains to stress, just so you might be wondering, it'll show up in the video, this still has its protective film on the front. The distributor very kindly broke a second one of these out of stock for this review, and I thought I would be as nice as I could and not actually remove it. So if you buy one yourself, you can take it off, and this gets even glossier and more reflective, just so you know. In the centre of this, and for which there are video segments, there are a pair of ECC 81 valves. They are built into the preamplifier section. They cannot be bypassed. They have their own little glowing window on the front in a very distinctive and marginally unsettling shade of red. And every time you turn the A10 Apex on, you will need to wait 30 seconds before it does anything. This does mean if you're using the HDMI ARC connection and you turned it on just in time for a program to start, you're going to be watching it with subtitles for 30 seconds. You'll get used to it, I promise you. I have. The arguments for using valves and preamps are that they have very favourable overload characteristics. Used within their operating envelope, they can do some quite useful things. And there's nothing to suggest in how this amplifier has been built and how it's performed that they're being stretched or pushed harder than they're designed to be done. If you don't like the idea of valves in your product, this probably isn't the one for you. As I say, they can't be bypassed, they can't be turned off. There are a lot of connections in that preamp though. This is where things start to get interesting. In no particular order, you get a single XLR input supported by 5 RCA inputs, direct AV input as well. There is then a moving magnet phono stage with adjustable capacitance. There's a tape loop and subwoofer outs as well as a pre-out. If that's not enough for you, there is then an ESS DAC which provides you with, and I need to look at my notes at this one, a single USB input on a B connection with 3 optical, 1 coaxial and an HDMI eARC connection. The A10 Classic actually had an HDMI audio input alongside the ARC connection. That's been dispensed with for the Apex. If that's a downer for you, then, well, I'm sorry. I just don't know how important that has proved to be. Advanced Paris clearly believes it hasn't been that important as they've got shot of it. The long and the short of it is, it doesn't really matter what collection of current and legacy sources you have, you probably aren't going to struggle to get them connected to this amplifier. What you don't get built in is Bluetooth or streaming. Now, there is a specific connection for attaching a Bluetooth module, and there are streaming options from Advanced Paris as well. Cards on the table, I think this is the right balance. I've tested plenty of integrated amplifiers, varying from having a row of analog inputs to being an all-in-one system in all but name. If we accept that streaming is the area of contention in terms of things actually moving enough to change and risk obsolescence, this thing does all of the connections that you could realistically want without sort of risking that element of it. So I think it's the right decision. Your mileage, of course, may vary, and you can let me know in the comments if you vigorously disagree with me. Then, Advanced Paris has gone to the effort of tidying up the aesthetics. Now, what they've done doesn't sound that important. It really doesn't, but it makes a difference. The lighting on those VU meters has been changed, so it's now a sort of white on black arrangement. There used to be a sort of blue glow to it, which didn't contrast very well with the big red glow from the valve window. They've changed the volume control from a chrome or brush steel to a black one, and they've just generally nipped, tucked and tweaked. The end result is, I think this is a very good looking product. If you're spending $2.5 grand on something, I think there is an argument that you'd like it to have at least a mild sense of theatre to it. And I think this has a more than a mild sense of theatre to it. It looks smart. It has a sense of occasion to it. I think it's very interesting and I think it's good fun. My perception is improved by the fact that it's very well bolted together and it's very pleasant to use. Now, there is an incidental shot of the remote, but I'm going to bring the remote up here anyway. Whilst this is not a beautiful device, it has direct input selection for all of those inputs. This makes using it an order of magnitude more pleasant than cycling through all of those inputs to get to the one that you want. That alone puts this in relatively select competition because most rivals have given up on that and you have to cycle through and it's a pain in the arse. The other reason, and perhaps the most important reason why I've gone and awarded this a Best in Class badge, is that it sounds brilliant. The A10 Classic sounded very good as well, but it was just a little bit soft when you pushed. Just a little bit gentle. I felt the phono stage was a bit on the sort of restrained side. Advanced Paris won't actually be drawn on what the Apex modifications entail. And as we've covered, there isn't much difference in the spec. Almost everything I've said applies to the Classic as well. This is just that little bit better. I've tested it with a variety of speakers. In the incidental videos, you'll see me using it with a Piega 301 Gen 2. But it's been run with the Neat Petite Classic and the Resident Focal Canters as well. And I've just enjoyed everything it does. Across all of the connections I've used, and that's as many as I possibly can, it's proved a genuinely enjoyable listen, balancing energy, punch, really very good bass extension with enough refinement to ensure that when I'm listening to the less civilized ends of my music collection, it still sounds really good. That HDMI ARC input, so long as you remember to turn CEC on in the menus, has been utterly flawless in operation as well. It's only been tested with the Philips, but that being said, choosing my words carefully, the Philips is the more pernickety of the televisions that we have here for HDMI ARC testing, so if it works with the Philips, it's likely to work with everything else. I've just found that this is a balance of features, functionality and refinement and capability wrapped up in a box that I enjoy looking at to make me go, this is the one I'd be quite happy to live with. I just can't see you finding something it can't do where you then can't make use of the umpty inputs that it does have to make it do it. It's a balance that has been extremely well struck, and it is currently the best way under £3,000 that I go about amplifying a system. You don't need much in the way of source equipment, but if you have plenty of source equipment, it's ready to go and to make use of it. The result is extremely compelling. Obviously, we are now beginning to roll towards the point where I'll have to put awards together. And at the moment, I haven't tested another amplifier which has ticked all the boxes quite as well as this one has. We do have more in the offing. It's not signed, sealed and delivered just yet, but at the moment, this is the current best in class. And I've done this video to try and explain in an ad hoc way why that is the case. If you've found it informative, useful, or even vaguely entertaining, thank you very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. There will be more content, including one I'm going to record the moment I finish recording this one. All that's left for me to do is to thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.